All right. And yeah, we're going to make some changes to this as well. So watch out for the future weeks to come, because there's going to be some slight modifications and things. Okay. So anyway, welcome to another edition of the Friday Featured Business. So I'm here with my co-host, Johan. And if you don't know Johan, then I think everyone knows Johan, don't they? Yeah. So, but anyway,
more or less.
Anything with about 𝗏𝗏est and the platform, any challenges, anything you want to suggest, any improvements or anything that you want to do, then speak with Johan or Ida. So they are basically representing 𝗏𝗏est. So this will, as I said, eventually it'll come back into 𝗏𝗏est. So it'll be a closed group. So I mean, if you're not in 𝗏𝗏est, you can't participate. So the idea is that you join 𝗏𝗏est. And you'll see all the benefits and the value from doing this. And once you've been a featured business, you should actually move up to a venture profile as well, because moving forward, there won't be free events in the way that you can't join unless you're like a fully fledged kind of member. Otherwise, it's not really fair for the ones that have paid to see that benefit and differentiation. So, hi, who have we got here?
Paul is there too. Yes, very good.
Paul, hi.
Yeah.
I've been here a long
Paul,
time.
Yeah,
and
we have two Pauls now, even.
yeah, another Paul. I don't see the name.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's two new people on here that I haven't seen before. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who's in the Netherlands, and sorry, I don't see the name.
It's Paul in India, I think. It's the next one that you...
Yeah.
All right, okay. So welcome to this. So basically it's a 1 hour featurely every Friday, 1 hour featured spotlight on any guest. So as long as they're in 𝗏𝗏est, then they can qualify to be on here. So a lot of people here have already been a featured guest and featured business, and it brings immense value in the way that we've heard so many stories about people networking with each other, even partnering with each other from this, or even just setting up a new dialogue and opportunities and support and helping each other. So it's a great way to do that. It's also, for us, it is to create credibility that this is a great platform to be on, and that we can set up many different ways to encourage that and for us to network, and rather than sit in the background and people don't know you, then come forward, either be in the audience and just watch, or if you want to step up and be a featured business, then that's not a problem either. So also with a featured business, it's not just about the business. In any business, I always want to know the person behind the business. So this is the reason why we start off and we talk on kind of who the person is, and then we move into the business. And then with our special guest today, where, as I said, it could be a diversity of any type of business. So you don't have to think, well, my business is not the same as the other guys. It doesn't matter. We want diversity. And we've had it, actually. I mean, last week was about futuristic things and kind of predicting the future. We've had Sheila that talks about the meaning of your dreams and fantastic stuff. And yeah, all sorts of stuff without going through all the names. I mean, there's always a great story to tell and always interesting. So I've networked with many people because of that, and also want to do more business with some of the people because of that. So without further ado, we shall move over to our mystery guest, who's now not so much of a mystery anymore. So Marion, in your words, first, before we go into anything about your business, tell us a bit about you, where you're from, where you live now, and just a bit of a background.
Okay, so I am now in Switzerland, where I was born, with a mother from Uruguay, South America, and my dad was British, but when he was a kid, he was born in 1924, and when he was a kid, he moved to South Africa, which at that time was still UK. So I have roots a little bit all around the world, like Africa, South America, and Europe. My background is I grew up connected to nature and a lot of space. I grew up in a house where both of my parents, they would always take the time just to look at the flowers in the garden, to look at the sunset. We didn't watch TV a lot, or only my dad did by himself. And so art and music were always in me and in my daily life. But for many reasons, when I finished high school, I took another path. I was into what in French we call formation d'adulte, which is translated into trainer teaching adults, something like that. I specialized in conflict management and team management. I worked in schools, primary and secondary schools in Geneva, until a few years ago, I decided to bring back music and art in the center of my life. And so I quit my job to dedicate myself to music. It's a little bit of me. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Sorry, I was on mute myself. So Paul is actually from South Africa.
Oh,
or he is in South Africa.
I have cousins there. Yeah.
And so he's in, if I remember rightly, in Cape Town.
Cape Town. Let me try to put a picture up.
Beautiful. My family is in Durban.
Okay, nice place for the world.
All right, so there's already some.
Cape Town, but it's nice.
So there's already some connections already that you can make. So I mean, there's people from. Het and Alvin are both from or in the Netherlands. We've got people from America and all over the place. So it's good to encourage kind of a diversity of people and different backgrounds and different interests and everything. So that was you. So what made you come to Switzerland then?
I grew up here. My mom moved with me to Uruguay when I was 10. So I lived my teenage years in Uruguay. And I came back when I was 16. And one of the reasons I came back was that at that time, Uruguay was a country compared to Switzerland. I always give the example. In Switzerland, you have scheduled time for arrivals of train. And the time is 12:58. The bus or the train is there at 12:58. And in Uruguay, you have buses, but you don't have any schedule. And so at that time, it got me crazy. I mean, all the system that is behind those two ways of functioning. And I wanted to come back because I felt I needed that structure. But now I'm really considering about how to find a way to be a bit more here and there. And yeah.
So how long have you been back here now?
Wow. 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But you still go back to Uruguay?
Yeah, my mom lives there. I have all my family there from my mother's side. So, yeah. For the anecdote, my dad married 4 times. So I have an eldest sister in Sweden. I have 2 brothers in Belgium and 2 sisters in Switzerland, plus my cousins in South Africa and my mother's side family in Uruguay. So
wow. So quite a big family.
Yeah.
So lots of traveling just to see family.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you catch up on Zoom.
We do. Yeah.
You could have your own family one of these, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very lucky because when I was a kid, it wasn't. I mean, I think we were much less people having two nationalities or 3. Nowadays, it's much more common. But I really feel that it's the best training just to function in today's world, when you can have different roots and different connections to different cultures.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what we need, a wider understanding for people and their circumstances in different places, right? And building trust and collaboration rather than confrontation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we go to your neighboring country there. I mean, my wife is Brazilian, so we go to Brazil a lot. So, but yeah, it's great seeing different cultures, different way of lives. I mean, and I know what you mean about buses. And you don't have to be at a bus stop to flag the bus down.
Yeah.
Right. It's here. If you're not at the bus stop, it won't stop for you. Even if you're at the bus stop, it doesn't stop for you.
Sometimes.
You didn't flag, yeah.
I mean, sometimes they close the doors because they say, "Well, time, you're not on quick enough," and they start driving off. So, there you go. Completely different culture. So, like, tell me about, I mean, business-wise, I mean, what did you kind of study or do originally before you kind of transitioned or did something in parallel that you wanted to focus on?
Well, originally I studied sciences de l'éducation, education science. How do you translate that like this? Specialized in teaching for grown-ups, which is also something relatively new, because the idea that an adult is someone who still keeps on developing itself is quite new in the science. I mean, in the 60s, the idea was like, okay, at 25, you know what you will do the whole rest of your life, and that's it. And so I started as an employee. I always had some kind of independent work as in what we call participative movement. How do you say that in French? Processus participatif. Like I would work in areas of a city, for example, where there would be a high percentage of retired people, and therefore sometimes less social connections. And we would go there and make sure that people connect more. It was just anecdotes about that. It was crazy. We started with interviews and questionnaires, first to understand the situation of each person, and also as a way to make them meet. And I would go to a building of, I don't know, maybe 12 apartments. And in that building, there were two couples. They were both 70 years old, and they had been living in the same building for 40 years, and they didn't know each other. And what we did was just like, let's have a coffee, and I present you your neighbor. I mean, in Swiss culture, it might sound less crazy. If you take this example into, I don't know, Uruguayan culture, people would say, are they crazy or what? In Switzerland, you can explain that because people has difficulties to go further on bonjour and bonsoir. So yeah, that was one of my activities. And when I quit my job, it has been 3 weeks since I had been nominated as a permanent employee of Geneva State and Geneva government, but I jumped into independent work. And now it's leading more, probably in a few years, I will be having a SARL, which is a society, like a company. I'm in the process.
So you want to create your own business then?
To music, yeah.
But also, I mean, so you're very much into kind of helping people network and become communities and rather than kind of live in the same places and be distant from each other, to kind of bring them together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit like, I mean, we've discussed many times, you can join many groups of thousands of people and never know anyone. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's why we encourage, like, particularly in 𝗏𝗏𝗏, that, you know, don't sit there in the background. Don't just join for the sake of joining. Join to participate. And if you participate, you get so much more from it. Even sitting on something like this, you don't have to say anything. And if you don't feel comfortable saying anything, just sit and listen. Because there's a lot of things that resonate with us and think, I'm kind of there as well. Yeah. So now kind of you've done that. So tell me a bit about kind of that. Because music, we're going to focus on kind of music as well. And so where did music come into your life? Was it a later stage, or was it something that was always been there and then you felt that I need to do something with it, but it's not necessarily going to be a business, but it's there, and then kind of where you are now?
So music was there from before I was born. I mean, my mom would sing, my dad would sing. I play with my dad's guitar, so music is in my DNA. And I started playing piano when I was 4, but then we moved several times, so I kept coming back to piano and coming, like, in a relationship of not a permanent relationship. And it's funny because when I was 12, I was in the kitchen of my mom once, and it just came to me. I told myself, I'm an artist. And I think it really was a moment when somehow I understood, or it came to me, that I see it as a function, as a social function. I think we all can have different social functions. And I do believe that artists have one specific one, which is to hold space for emotion to be released and to be put in movement, and from there to make space for new initiatives. And so I was 12 and that came to me. I had been writing books and stories and poetry and doing music all the time. But, and that was when I was in Uruguay, and in Uruguay I would do some journalism as a volunteer. So I was putting my feet into the artistic world. But when I came back to Switzerland, one part of that structure I was talking about was that I came back to Switzerland, and here suddenly I was just a teenager and I was 16, and there were so many things that were expected from a 16 years old. And I wasn't meant to be doing journalism, and I wasn't meant to be out of the box, to say it, to put it in some words. So I finished high school, and when I looked at the requirement to enter the University of Music, I just thought, I don't have the level to do that. So that's why I kind of took another path. But music was always there. And one click I had was when I was studying social work. But to be honest, I was getting very, there wasn't enough stimulation in the school at that time. And I was doing dancing. And one day I received a newsletter from my dance teacher, and he was saying, dear students, I'm flying abroad to the US to perfect my technique and to go ahead with my dream. And that was a shock, because I realized, okay, there are people who they just go for what makes them feel alive. And I'm just sitting here studying something that doesn't push me further. So that's when I stopped studying that thing. That was one part of the process. And the last click was I had participated on a camp, kind of a camp of 10 days with singer-songwriters. For 10 days, we were in the countryside in Switzerland. And at the end, we had a concert, and each one of us, we would sing the song we had written during the camp. And it was 5 minutes on stage with 4 professional musicians and I. And these 5 minutes were the most joyful minutes of my year, maybe of my life, I don't know. And that's when I really understood that for me, music was the quickest way to joy and to presence. And that's why after that camp, I came home and I signed my letter and I quit my job, because I wanted to pursue that quickest way to get to joy, and in that joy to connect with people.
Excellent. So musical instruments, I mean, you mentioned the piano there. So are there instruments that you play?
I'm learning guitar, but my main instrument is my voice.
And you write your own music?
Yeah.
Right. Right, which we're going to hear shortly.
Yes.
Right. She already played for me, which is fantastic. So you're in for a treat. So now, where are you kind of in your life? I mean, in the moment. I mean, are you going to now focus more on the music side, or are you planning to do kind of other work as well? Or I mean, explain kind of what.
Yeah. So it took 2 years to go from the process to go through where I am now. Now I'm like, my work is music. And I think that nowadays music, I mean, every musician has to, yes? Every musician has to be an entrepreneur. So today a musician is also someone who has to do social marketing. And I'm at the stage where I'm having a team. I work with an Argentinian label. I'm having some sessions with a UK manager. So I have professionals who help me. but as I said before, it's becoming like, in the end, it has to be a company, because we will be a team. We are already a team of six to 10 people, depending if I include the musicians. So where I am now, I'm working as a musician in 2020, and working as a musician in 2020 means, as I said before, a lot of other stuff, like also doing fundraising and reaching out for collaborations and etc., etc.
Okay, so what is it that we could help you with as an 𝗦𝗡𝗏 community?
Excellent. Well, being here, it's already, it's getting heard. It's not easy, and just having people who share time and just ears to be there, it's already a big help. And I think, I don't know if it's specific to 𝗦𝗏, but maybe speak more about what music is for you in your life, and to share that with others, and maybe from time to time to tell your friends or your community, listen to this new artist, because the pressure of standard music and mainstream music is very big. And for independent artists to get to someone, it really relies on people. So that's the first thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, I mean, in the music industry, not necessarily the best are the successful ones. And you can see a lot, particularly street buskers, that are fantastic, but never get spotted. Yeah. And they never make anything. Yeah, they're trying to live their dream, but it's not working. And then someone kind of in the right place at the right time. I mean, you've seen it with many bands and artists that they've had to have singing lessons after they've been recognized, because they weren't natural singers. So it is a challenging place, but that's why doing it on your own is extremely tough. That's why sometimes you have to be on things like this, because someone may know someone who knows someone else that can open a door. Whereas I guess that's like with everything in business. I mean, referrals are the best way to actually do any business.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly, and that's the key element, I think, here also, just creating the atmosphere where we have a chance of having a little bit more humane interaction. Instead of AI, we go for HI, humane interaction, and creating the trusted small environment where we're open and receptive to have a dialogue, which is so easily lost otherwise in the noise of everything that is out there. So as James said, it doesn't matter what field of entrepreneurship you're in, right? I mean, we're all struggling with different things, but clearly if we can get together, and as I often say, a rising tide will lift all the boats, right? So if we just get together, and then we have a much better chance of succeeding.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of people inside of 𝗦𝗏. I have a number of people that I can suggest to you that I think you should connect with. And I've actually now in the background, while this was recording, I've written to one of them there, at least Sandra. She's a great lady. You should definitely connect with her. And I hope she will get back to you, if nothing else.
Yeah, so that's why this is immense fun doing. And that's why we encourage people to kind of maybe come out of their comfort zone and share their story, because it's applicable to everybody. And
it's very interesting what you say, because I've followed, and I think we all have somehow read books about marketing, about fundraising, followed hundreds of webinars and so on. And what comes to my mind is that I really feel that what has the most value is when someone can listen to you and see the value and the potential on what you're doing and on your idea. And I think that gives the trust that is sufficient to let intuition come. And I believe, and in my experience, all the things I've done just because the idea popped up in my mind one day were the more useful ones. Instead of creating from my rational mind a plan to A, B, C, D. So yeah, I think what is happening with 𝗦𝗏 and the example of today is it works on other levels. It's not about learning a concrete knowledge. It's wider than that.
Yeah, nobody can be an expert on everything, right? So you have your expertise areas and everybody else has theirs. So the important element is to surround yourself with the right people, people that you can trust and collaborate and potentially then create complementary work together with, right? I mean, I know James and Pete is starting up some elements. I know Walter and Janine was together yesterday in an excellent session, and James is working with Melita and others. And yeah, there's really a lot of interactions that is starting to happening now. And that's such a good feeling to see that moving forward and really more value being created mutually now.
Yeah, excellent. So yeah, just on that, I mean, our Q&As every week on EntNest. So if you wanted to join those, I mean, you can ask questions and they'll be answered there. So Miriam, before, have you got any questions to the audience before we're going to hear some of your music?
I would love to know, if you had to say what music is for you, what would you say?
I mean, for me personally, I know we discussed this. I mean, I grew up through many different kind of eras, and as a teenager, I was very much into being a rebel. So it was punk rock. So the Clash, the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. But then I would say if there was any one band that probably inspired me through all the generations, it'd be the Beatles. Because I can relate to their music when they were kind of more rebellious and then more the calmer stuff. And so for me, if I had to choose any, it would be them. Although I love music, and I think music plays a very, very important role in our life, that we underestimate the value of it. I mean, that's me. So, I mean, other people?
Yeah, I can say that, you know, that almost all people have a so-called inner dialogue. And my inner dialogue is to a great extent music. I'm not talking to myself, I'm just singing to myself. And like you, Marian, I started with piano, and I'm a self-taught guitar player. And in my late teens, early 20s, I was even playing in a rock jazz band in my hometown in Aachen for the Dutch. And there was a point when actually my father asked me the question, you think you can do this for a living? And that was the moment when I said no. And because I knew that, number one, I can be very stubborn when I want to reach a goal, but I know how much it takes to become a really good guitar player. And somebody who I really adore, who is almost a neighbor of mine, Eric Clapton, when you see what he invested as a 16, 17-year-old in playing day and night, in practicing his riffs and licks. And when you see him now at 75, how effortless this all comes out, despite the fact that he is suffering badly from peripheral neuropathy, it's just amazing. Well, I decided then, no, I will go a different route. The other point is, I mentioned this a few days ago to somebody in Scandinavia. I loved Sweden as a country for holiday. And when I had the opportunity to go there for work, I declined, because I said, if I live there day by day, I don't know where to go on holiday anymore. And you know, once you start seeing the downsides, then maybe you don't want to live there anymore. So, but there are still quite good friends from the good old days. I think probably the most famous German guy in the same sort of music, my age group, is still Brunner, who's a trumpet player from Bonn. We knew each other very well in our 20s, and a couple of other people. But I love it, and I love it. And I have to say, then I'm quiet. In the meantime, I had a look on YouTube at your official video of Berlin Memories.
Yes.
And I put it in the chat. And the first thing all of us can do here now is, at the end of the meeting, go to YouTube, like it.
Yes, that's great.
Excellent. So we're going to kind of plug your stuff a bit later. But I mean, I think it's a good time now, unless there's a burning question from someone else. We should listen to one of your songs, your own songs it is.
And well, maybe if I can just share one thing. Can I? Just one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Or two. So just one thing that came to my mind recently, thinking about music and so on, is to remember that then more than a performance, when we go to see a concert and when an artist gives a concert, it's about presence. And I think sometimes it's nice to like hold the two concepts and find a balance between them, because sometimes you can see performance without a lot of presence and vice versa. And the other one is just to tell you all that I'm very happy. I'm releasing a new album on the 10th of September that will be on all platforms. So you are very welcome to listen. It's called Enough. And the idea behind the album is to kill perfectionism before it kills you. So yeah. And well, thank you, James, for this amazing opportunity to be shown with you. And thank you, everybody. So this is called Stick to Love. How do you say in English, j'ai le trac?
Sorry, when you say what?
J'ai le trac. No? It's a specific saying we have in French, like when just before doing something, you feel a little bit nervous.
Oh.
I don't think we're native in French enough in this room here.
In German, you say toi, toi, toi.
Yeah, vielen Dank.
And when you do it with actors before they go on stage, you say toi, 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 and you spit above their shoulders.
I didn't know the spitting part.
Right, so Walter
Maybe break a leg.
Oh yeah, break a leg, yeah.
Yeah.
So Walter's going to dance while you play. Okay, we'll stop disturbing you.
Naked, let's get naked. Sorry, I cannot hear me. Naked, let's get naked. Dressed with only our souls. Free, let's get free from all the expectations that we've been told to reach. Real, let's get real, ready to feel just what we feel. Let me stick to love, 'cause it's all I see. Let me grab on hope, 'cause it's all I need to make my way to you, to make my way to you, to make my way to you. 'Cause I've heard my voice rattling 1,000 times, and I'm still singing fully alive. And the cracks in my bones have been filled with love. I'm still walking a bit slower, but my feet solid on the ground. Solid on the ground. Naked, let's get naked. What is it that you wanna hide? If we're free, free from all the illusions that we've been told to see. Real, let's get real, ready to feel just what we feel. I love you more than any maybe, and I've learned that life gives when you're ready to receive not what you want, what you need. Let me stick to love. It's all I see. Let me grab on hope. It's all I need to make my way to you. To make my way to you. To make my way to you. Free, gonna get free. Just you and me. Gonna get free. Free. Gonna get free. Just you and me. Gonna get free.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the second time I've heard that, and it still brings a tear to my eye.
Really good. Yes. I just put in a sentence there, Marianne. Let's get real, ready to feel, I think is what you said, right?
Yes.
That's a beautiful line. I will, if you may, if you allow me, I will use that line in some speeches that I do. So
As much as you want, you can use it. Yes.
yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. It was super beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for your presence.
It's not over yet, so now we can open it up so people can come off mute and just feel free to ask questions. So this is the kind of the interaction that we want now. So,
yeah, I have a question, James, for Marianne. Marianne, did you take any singing lessons?
Yes, I did, and I do, and I keep doing. Yeah.
Okay, because yeah, you have a beautiful voice, that's for certain.
yeah, actually, when she first sang for me, the first notes that came out, I thought, wow. I mean, it was amazing.
And then imagine without Zoom in live, right? Even better. Yeah, I'm sure. Everything is better in live, right?
I mean, the quality even here was
It is very good. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No
so
question
imagine in
about
a proper studio or a
Yeah.
concert or something.
Yeah.
Be excellent.
Yeah.
Have we got any other musicians here? Ah,
Sheila?
Sheila. And
Yeah,
Alvin.
I use, well, I, percussionist from way back when, hot summer nights in New York, is that we would play the congas and then do beat out rhythms in the heat of the night.
Wow.
In the summer. But I played percussion for many years, played the violin for many years, played trumpet. I've sang all my life. I think from what my family tells me, I started singing to Campbell Soup commercials when I was 7 months old. So I've been singing literally all my life. I use sound in my work because I use a particular form of Reiki called Karuna Reiki, which is chanted or toned, and which is very good for removing stubborn and deep blocks that people may have. So music has always been a part of my life and part of my work. I used to, and here in London, I used to be a presenter on a radio station here, and in New York I also did some radio work. So music is just part and parcel of my life. I mean, even to clean the house, I get it done much faster when I put on my favorite sambas and start zooming around the house. So
Yeah.
music is the end all and be all as far as I'm concerned.
But it is. I mean, there's so many. I mean, particularly Johan, you picked out a phrase in there. I mean, I do that in a lot of music I hear, and it might mean different things to different people. But I mean, to me, it resonates with me for my reasons. So yeah, I love music in the same way. I'm always singing, but I don't think I sing particularly good. And but I mean, nevertheless, I want to be doing it, so I do it around the house. Yeah, Arvin, you mentioned you're an artist also, or you're just scratching your head. All right.
No. You don't want me Don't want to hear me singing. I do enjoy music, but no singing for me.
So it got me thinking when we were talking prior to coming on here that we should do things. You meet so many different people in the street, buskers in the street, and I just think I wanted to kind of give them a platform to show themselves. So I was thinking of kind of doing a special that would just be a featured business or featured buskers, and then we get them all to come on here, and they all have kind of they do their song, and then we can maybe do a poll or something, and then we vote on one and take them to a final. So it just got me thinking of something like that, and I thought that would be nice, because there are lots of artists out there that also need a platform to kind of show themselves. So
I think that could be a good next step. I'm just oh wow, nice dog there in the background.
Was that you, Walter?
No, there was a dog that wanted to sing, but not my dog. No.
I think that was the song "Who Let the Dogs Out," right?
Yeah, exactly. No, but you know, focusing on you, Marion, because it's your featured presentation today, and also I can just relate to that what James said, because music is so touching. Music has, you know, the approach to the senses of music. You know, that is the direct experience, whereas talking that we do and presenting in public speaking goes through so many linguistic filters, and it is so adulterated. So the music really touches you in the very beginning, and I loved it. I really loved it. Congratulations. I do not know if you like to be likened to anyone. But when I heard, you know, you sing the first lines, it reminded me one morning in 2002 when I drove to work here in London, and I heard for the first time Norah Jones singing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not the first time that someone tells me that.
Yeah, but it's not purely Norah Jones, because there are so many colors in your voice, and I think also you don't want. You want to be your own trademark.
Exactly.
Unless somebody is long dead, like I don't know, like famous I don't know, any old jazz singer, but no, what something nearer, and also looking at that what Johan just said, and I don't want to intrude into anybody's sovereignty here. But, you know, with your beautiful song, and I don't know what your commitments and your likings are in terms of licensing and recording, and what your record label allows you not to do, your manager, Johan, I know there is an Endnest movie out there with very modern music. Why don't we make an Endnest, a small Endnest piece of music with the line that you chose, and with this song in the background?
There are plenty of opportunities out there. I'm not sure which movie you refer to, but Ida has made one, and then we did some early sort of jingle types and so on.
Yeah,
there.
I think I remember this jingle type.
Yeah,
Ida,
but also when you talk about licensing and so on, that's also where Pete comes in,
yes,
right? With his brand alive events. It's definitely something that you should all tune into.
Yeah, I think Pete wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Or the dogs wanted to say something.
My dog, our foster dog, she likes to chime in, but Marion, a gorgeous voice, beautiful and very heartfelt. You know, every word had significance, which was lovely. And it's true, I do brand expansion and licensing. So where I can help, I would love to.
Okay, thank you. Well, we definitely should connect.
Absolutely.
And we're all connected inside of Endnest. So when you go back into Endnest, Marion, you will see that all of us are here, and a few more who's not here today. But I can guarantee you that there will be a lot of other people who you should be connecting with. And as I said, I'll suggest a few. And,
I mean, I can think of something, Marion, that being that you work with people to kind of empower them and to help them to find their way and to heal. And I know of through my work as a flower essence producer and practitioner that there's a Norwegian doctor, Dr. 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, and he's even written a textbook on how music, particularly for older people, is really, really healing. I mean, his textbook is actually used by nurses in Norway as a guide to how to work with older people. But I know from personal experience, working with clients who may have been suffering with dementia or Alzheimer's and whatnot, even when they stop talking, even when they stop communicating and are shut off in the world, all I had to do was, pass a bottle of aromatherapy blend that I made for them under their nose and to touch them, and they would just smile, even if with their minds completely gone. The power of touch, the power of the smell of the oils and music, because I would also use music, was something very, very powerful that still had the power to touch them, even if they were shut off from the world. And I wondered, about you using your music in that way to actually get people to get in touch with themselves, because it is an international language that needs no words. Everybody can speak music, whether they like rock or punk or whatever the case may be. It still has the power to touch people, and I just wonder, is that something you ever even thought about?
Yeah, there are two things which you mentioned. Music for elderly people. There's an amazing documentary where they have exactly what you describe, and they bring music from to someone who is 80 today. They will bring music to that person that person listened to when they were 20 or 30, and suddenly they become alive, really. So yeah, music is very powerful. And about the healing part, what I did, I just finished my test. I created what I call an experience, and the idea is to pick a theme. The first theme I picked was acceptance, and what I offer to people is like every week there's a live stream with one song related to the process of going through acceptance, and with a little chit chat, and in between there are self-coaching exercises that I offer to people. So that is one thing it's the way I've found to melt pure music with my previous work. Yeah.
Okay, so on that, I mean, to share information, then don't necessarily share it in here, because this won't be kept. I mean, the recording will be kept and we make that available. But I mean, go back into EntNest and then put under the notes of the event. So you can add in there, you can add the links, you can add websites or links to YouTube or wherever you want to point us to. And you mentioned you have an album coming out soon.
Yes. So the pre-save are opened on Spotify. And it's an album of 3 songs. It was live recorded in February, just before Corona, and it's called Enough, and it's out on the 10th of September, and on the 3rd October we have the video clip, and the whole concept is about the idea is that as long as we are in a mindset of lack, on a lack mindset, we miss the opportunity to feel grateful. So every time we are feeling or thinking that we don't have enough of something, or we are not enough of something, we are in that tension of lack. And on the opposite side, when we realize how much we have of enough air, a heart beating, food, a roof, and so many other things that we have enough, then we can connect to gratefulness, and from gratefulness to other actions. I mean, much stronger actions. So, yeah.
Excellent. So at the moment, because of kind of the Corona situation, I mean, did you publicly go out and have events or shows or people to hear your music, or how were you doing it before? And now with that, I mean, what's the kind of plan so people can actually see and hear you?
Well, there's a need, I think, today in the music industry to diversify, and we cannot count only on live music. Internet is the broad place to meet and connect with people. So I'm having live events again. I'm having 2 in September, 1 in October, and so on. But otherwise, I'm thinking of starting doing some stream, like concerts, live stream. Have to find the business model for that. Yeah.
Right.
But it's tricky, and just the Swiss scene is wide and small at the same time, and we have to, when you plan a tour, you have to start 1 year before your tour, and because of this coronavirus, like it has been very hard to plan things because the concert venues don't know how much people they will bring in. So I think it's really, this year for musicians, it's a year to reinvent ourselves and to find new ways to connect.
So just a question, if you did something online, I mean, would you do it in a studio or something, or just like you have done now?
I would, I'm planning to do it like this, but with a microphone. I mean, with a
so kind of raw and uncut.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And on studio, it's a possibility, but then the cost would be the same as live, so it doesn't make much sense.
All right, so if we were, I mean, I would encourage you then to kind of set up an event here and then say what you're going to do. No, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
you might, and then, I mean, we've heard you, so you've already got an audience, and then we would promote it with others, and then you could have kind of your own live event. If you don't know how to do it, then Ida, Johan, myself can help you do that. Right?
And as Sheila said, I think you can easily find good people around that might be able to contribute in good and valuable ways from all kinds of aspects. 360 degrees around, that's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, maybe we could do a jamming event. I mean, so you can have multiple artists.
Jam is great. Unfortunately, the technologies are not ready yet. So.
Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, so that is one thing. Another thing would be if we did a 1 week special, come on, as kind of, if we could get enough music artists, reach out to them and say like,
oh, it can be done. I mean, there's a online event that UB40 puts on. They have their own channel.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who's a singer was interviewed by them, and they were playing his music and interviewing him, and other people were involved. So I mean, the technology is there. It's just a matter of putting it to work for you. So I mean, you know, I've seen performances done where all of the musicians were in different places. But you know, it took some coordination because of the lag times, but they were able to do some wonderful works. I mean, the technology is certainly able to do it. It's just a matter of arranging it, and it would take some, you know, if you're having multiple artists, it'll take a little bit of doing, but it's relatively simple to set up.
So would you sing on here, Sheila?
Sorry?
Would you sing here for everybody?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I sing all the time, so yeah, that's no big deal.
Okay, so let's just think about that as well. So, yeah, Marion, you can do kind of your own thing. I mean, likewise, Sheila, likewise, all of us, we can all do our own events of some sort. It doesn't have to be singing. And then maybe I'll just ponder the thought about doing a kind of a, not busker as such, but I mean, artists that we can find and then do them in a show like this. I think it'd be great fun just to see the diversity of music as well.
Mm-hmm. And Marianne, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, and I have a website and so on. As James suggested, I will put the links in the group after. Yeah.
Yeah. So do that, and I want some jingles also. We were talking about that just before people joined.
I'll be working on that.
So I because this is kind of was a bit of fun and then to help stimulate and promote businesses. And yeah, it's become a regular thing, but I personally get immense value from it. And I get value from kind of catching up with the same people each week. So to me, I just like to hear different people's stories. So in a selfish way, I enjoy it and I love it. And I don't care who's on it. I love the diversity of the different people. I could even go back and listen to Sheila's story again, and there's so much we can add to that. But there's so many stories that are great, and to keep that going. So I mean, once you've been a guest once, it doesn't mean you can't be a guest again. And maybe you want to team up with someone and do a different type of thing. And so everything is open, and to do something like that is great. So we're talking about jingles. So I kind of wanted something to open and close this. So it would be kind of a jingle, like, yeah, I don't want to embarrass myself and try and do wrong, but it'd be something that would open it and close it at the same time. So if someone did that, I mean, Marion is going to tinker around with that, then obviously they get a plug every week because people say, who did that? And then I promote them. And then, yeah, it could be used for other things. So I guess that's it. So any final words from Miriam?
From me?
Yes, Miriam. Yeah.
Listen to the silence. That's something a lot of musicians, friend musicians, they always suggest you focus not on the notes, but on the silence between the notes or inside the notes. And I really like that exercise. These are my final words. Listen to the silence.
Excellent. So on that note, I thank everybody again.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. I thank you, my special guest, and it's something quite different again from, yeah, I think they've all been quite special. So, yeah, I like to continue that. I need to check who's the guest next week. So, yeah.
Another mystery guest?
Well, typically they became mystery guests, only I wanted to put a placeholder in because the person kind of dropped out because something came up and I didn't have someone to fill in. So in the essence of not having someone, I put mystery guest, which actually worked because it was kind of more exciting who's going to be the mystery guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it's also nice to know because they can think, oh yeah, that person looks interesting, and check them out beforehand.
Well, maybe just to mix it up every now and then, every once in a while, drop in somebody as a mystery guest, just to keep it interesting.
Yeah, I'm also open to ideas. If someone says that we can make this something different and add some more value, then I'm happy to let someone jump in. Like Sheila, you could say, could I do something with you next week with a guest? I said, yeah, why not?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that, and it's like, people are always asking me, well, how do you work with people in their dreams? I mean, even other people who are like sleep coaches will ask me, well, how do you work with dreams? And it's every client is different, every person is different, but there are some basic things that I do with all clients. And if somebody was willing to bring a dream, they don't have to give, deep and dark details, but just bring the basics of a dream that they may have written down. I can show you, walking through it with a person, how I actually work with a person's dreams and how I teach people how to work with dreams. I mean, that's something possible. It's something I throw out there if anybody was actually interested to see how that works.
Yeah. Paul is just saying, Paul, I don't know if you want to say it yourself. You can come off mute.
You have dreams that come true. Yeah, some of us are more in tune with the flow of things, and I have had dreams like that for other people as well as myself. So yeah, I mean, occasionally we do tap into.
Okay. Anyway, on that note, we can talk about these forever. We need to kind of wrap it up now. So thank you, everybody. Thanks to my special guest. And then let's keep in touch. Reach out to Ida as well about doing maybe an online event. And you've got an audience already. And yeah, if you want to be a featured guest, then let me know. If you've already told me, then I'll tell you when it's going to be. You've already got penciled in date. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. So have a fantastic weekend, and thanks all for joining.
Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.